Welcome back to my YouTube channel where we talk about investing. Um, I hope everybody's enjoyed their Thanksgiving holiday week. Been a while since I posted on the channel. Been a little bit busy. Had a lot of stuff to do, so I wasn't able to actually post on my usual time. But we're going to go be getting into a video on GSM. Shout out to John Drake. This is a requested video from a subscriber, so let's get into it. GSM Ferroglobe PLC. All right. The company's profile. I'll pretty much just sum this up. They deal in metals. They're a commodities metals play. All right. They have some international presence. They do quartz mining in South Africa, Spain, United States, and Canada, and there's some coal mining, and they got some presence in France. So they're primarily headquartered. They are headquartered in the United Kingdom, London, but they deal internationally in the materials sector. Their industry is diversified metals and mining, quite literally, actually. So, um, interesting company. Boring to a lot of people, but I'm all about making money. It doesn't matter what the company's doing, but I look at things a little differently. So, international companies. This is how I feel about investing in international companies. One, it depends which country they're in. Two, depends on what sector they're in, and this is why. All right. So the United Kingdom, I'm okay with. I like, I'm okay with investing in companies in the UK, just for the basic premise of they're always going to be close allies politically with the United States. So I don't, as an investor, I don't have to worry about if some war kicks off or something crazy that the United Kingdom's going to be on the opposing Axis side or whatever, and I'm going to have to be dealing with that. So that part right there, I'm okay with that. But their commodity, their actual sectors and industry portion, with their international presence and mining and the transportation of the materials, they are vulnerable to taxes and tariffs from these different countries. So I don't know. Let's say um, that I don't know, like France, for example, they fall under they're in the European region of the world or what have you. Let's say that there's something internationally going on, like maybe there's a war, or maybe there's some sort of a back and forth of some sort of um, tax and tariff back and forth of hostility between different countries. This company can get caught up, can get caught up on the as an investment. They can get caught up with additional tariffs on whatever raw materials that they're dealing with, um, and someone can probably say, "Oh, well, they're not the ones actually doing the transportation." Correct, maybe, perhaps, but it's irrelevant if the price of the commodity goes up due to a tariff or just straight up restriction to where they're not going to let that in from a different country. Then it's still going to increase the cost and eat into the bottom line anyway. So, speaking of the bottom line, which is actually we call the net income in business, let's go to our financials of the business. We'll go to cash flows. On the top of the cash flow statement, you'll see the net income, which is kind of okay. So, on the income statement, the net income is the bottom line portion, pretty much. And then the cash flow statement is the net income is listed on the top, but the cash flows are the current in and outflows at any given time within the company. All right. So the net income is the actual how we keep track of a company and their earnings, right? So just because a company earns a certain amount of money doesn't necessarily mean that's going to go back to the investor in the form of cash flow. More so, it's maybe going to be given credit from a market sentiment and assessment standpoint. But I guess that's a subject for another time. I kind of hint about the differences in each video so people start, if they continue to watch my videos, they'll start to eventually understand these things. But if you look at the net incomes for this company, there's inconsistencies. So I mean, you see portions where they're losing a few hundred million, and then they're making a few hundred million. All right, there's some inconsistencies there. So you might have, this is what we call a cyclical commodities play. All right. Um, so I mean, what that would do for a stock chart is there's dramatic up and down time periods. So you might have a few years where the stock is up, and a few years where the stock is down, what have you. All right. So let's go back to with these go back to the statements. With these commodity plays or just any investment in general, period. My strategy is more of I'm a long-term investor. This company in the position or the setup is more of a this is more of a swing trade play where you buy it when it's down, the commodities are all down, company's not doing too good, but the whole sector is going to turn around, and they stand to benefit and their stock will go up. And this might take a year and a half, and then when that happens, you just sell out. That's pretty much the idea of this setup. As you can see, if you look at the actual revenues, really, I mean, these are inconsistent revenues and inconsistent incomes because they're up and down. Um, and that's fine, all right. But and with these inconsistencies, what's consistent? I mean, what's consistent to return for the shareholder, right? Is it buybacks? Is it dividends? Because they're not going to be able to provide long-term value as far as like I'm gonna buy the stock, be an owner of the company, and then 10 years from now I'm rich. Nah, that's not really the idea. Once again, I'm gonna buy it now. In a year and a half, the stock goes up, and I just take profits, and that's it. All right. Um, the reason why I get this impression is let's go to shares outstanding. What have they done with shares outstanding for the past 10 years? All right. We went from 98.1 million shares to 188.1 million shares. So pretty much almost a doubling in shares in the past 10 years. We'll go to dividends. Don't pay a dividend. We'll go to the dividend history. They paid 4 dividends in 2016, and then they paid 1 dividend in 2018. So no consistency there. So we can't depend on free cash flows from the actual business that you own to actually give you your return. So it's just going to be dependent on your revenues and net incomes. Okay, so with the basic EPS yield, the hypothetical projection is this company is yielding about 13%, a little over 13%. So that's something to take into consideration. Let's compare it to an actual, not really to compare to apples and oranges in an investment sense of like the actual business model, but the actual investment idea of what I'm trying to portray. Let's look at Dillard's. All right, this is a classic example of, you know, you got revenues. Let's look at their revenues. 6.6 billion in revenue from 10 years ago to 6.8 billion. Pretty much flat from 6.8 today. Pretty much flat revenues, inconsistent, maybe a little up, maybe a little down from year to year, but it's all the same. Um, we go to their net incomes. There's inconsistencies in their net incomes, but their free cash flows are present. So if you look at their free cash flows for the past 10 years, they've pretty much always been positive and actually made decent money from year to year. But what have they been doing with the actual money? Well, let's go to their income statement. Um, we'll go to shares outstanding. So this is an example of how powerful buybacks can be. People underestimate this all the time. So they went from 45.6 to 16.7. So within the past 10 years, they've gotten rid of over 60% of the float of shares available. So it's a supply and demand game, all right? Let's go to dividends. They have been paying dividends for growing dividends for 12 years, but you look at the yield is 0.29%. So you say, well, that's nothing. Well, let's go to the history. Let's go to their dividend history. Excuse me. They've been paying special dividends lately, which are dramatically a lot. So 5 dividends a year, but the quarterly dividends are going to keep consistent. And then from year to year on good years, they pay fat dividends of excess cashes or cash flows. So, like, looks like this past year they did a $20 special dividend. All right. And the year prior, they did a $15, and the year prior to that is another $15 special dividend. And meanwhile, you get the little dividend that shows the consistency, which they're going to grow at a average of a 16.2% on the 5-year growth rate. So that's how they're delivering it. And what has been the result? I mean, this stock is 4.5x in 5 years. In the past 5 years, the past 20 years, Dillard's has taken. They've bought back 80% of their actual float of shares. This is what happens. The stock's going to skyrocket. All right. So the short interest of 15.3% is probably going to encourage them to just keep buying more stock back and crush those shorts. So whoever is shorting Dillard's, I think these people obviously don't know what they're doing. All right. So that's just my take on it. Anyway, that's my take on GSM as a whole. Is there money to be made? Yes. This is more of a swing play or swing trade play. Not really my style, but hey, however you can get the bag, you know. And when I say the bag, I mean the good bag, not the hold the bag. I'm talking get the money. All right. I will be jumping back on the bandwagons. A little bit of, you'll notice from time to time when I'm recording, a little bit of clutter here and there. I'm in the process of rearranging because I'm about to do a move to another state. So, hey, thanks everybody for watching. If you found value, like and subscribe. I really appreciate all my subscribers for this little YouTube channel that it is. Comment down below what you think about. Are you okay with swing trade plays, or do you, or would you rather I'm gonna buy a stock and hold it for several years and not worry about when I have to take profits and get out of the position? So, and let me know if y'all want me to take a look at another company. All right. All right. So that's my thoughts on GSM. Thank y'all, and I hope you all have a good day and a good week.